Post-World War II Los Angeles represented the American dream. Thousands arrived seeking a sun-drenched future, drawn by the booming economy and the promise of Hollywood stardom. Elizabeth Short was one of those dreamers. She was 22 years old, ambitious, and arrived in the city looking for the same success as everyone else. In the early morning of January 15, 1947, a mother walking her child through a vacant lot in Leimert Park found a horrific scene. She initially thought someone had dumped a broken store mannequin in the weeds, but the reality was far worse. Elizabeth Short was found, her body severed completely in half. This grotesque discovery ended a life and simultaneously exposed the violent undercurrent of the post-war era, showing how fragile the city's promise of safety truly was. The forensics told a chillingly specific story. The bisection of Elizabeth's body wasn't a frantic, jagged cut. It was a hemicorporectomy. The killer severed the spine precisely between the second and third lumbar vertebrae, a procedure requiring advanced anatomical knowledge. There was almost no blood at the scene. The killer had drained the body completely in a secondary location and scrubbed the skin surgically clean with gasoline before leaving her in the lot. This clinical routine was matched with an act of sadistic violence. The killer had carved deep slashes from the corners of her mouth to her ears, creating a permanent forced grin known as a Glasgow smile. The combination of clinical precision and sadistic violence created a unique profile. The killer was an anomaly who operated outside the standard methods the LAPD used to track violent criminals. Following the discovery, the killer began to proactively dominate the narrative. Instead of hiding, they targeted the Los Angeles Examiner to play a public game with the police. A packet arrived at the newspaper containing Elizabeth's birth certificate, phonographs, and an address book. To ensure the police had no leads, the sender meticulously wiped every single item with gasoline, erasing any trace of fingerprints. The press dubbed her the Black Dahlia, and the city responded with a hungry fixation. Every new, gruesome update sold out newsstands as the public consumed the investigation like a serial drama. The case generated such intense mass hysteria that over 50 different men and women walked into police stations to falsely confess to the murder. These individuals had no link to Elizabeth Short, yet they were willing to trade their freedom for a permanent place in the tragedy. Their actions proved the case had developed a magnetism more powerful than the fear of punishment. This fixation effectively killed Elizabeth Short a second time. Her tragedy was stripped of its human weight and turned into a cheap cultural product, demanded by a public that preferred the legend to the girl. The search for a solitary criminal mastermind overlooked a much larger obstruction, the LAPD itself. In 1947, the department was crippled by systemic corruption. Factions within the police force waged internal turf wars, and high-ranking officials maintained protective ties to organized crime. Within this environment, the investigation fell apart. Crucial physical evidence recovered from the crime scene mysteriously vanished from lockup, and statements from key witnesses were buried. This allowed highly connected suspects to evade scrutiny. Dr. George Hodel, a prominent physician with the exact surgical skills required for the crime, operated in a social circle that was effectively shielded from the law. The idea of a perfect crime is a convenient fiction. The truth is likely far simpler. The killer survived because the institutional rot of the LAPD created a fog dense enough to choke the investigation. Decades have passed. The detectives are dead, the witnesses are gone, and the physical evidence has completely decayed. We have moved past the point where evidence or memory are enough to solve the crime. Elizabeth Short's death has moved out of history and into the realm of permanent folklore. She is now an immortal ghost, trapped in the machinery of modern true crime. Her unsolved death is endlessly recycled for documentaries and internet clicks, ensuring her story never reaches a conclusion. The perpetrator achieved a rare, dark victory. By remaining unknown, they secured permanent anonymity for themselves, while ensuring their crime would achieve eternal, terrifying fame. We often focus on the monster in the shadows. But the greater horror lies in the realization that a person capable of such calculated brutality could live untouched. shielded by the very systems meant to find them.